Hiya, folks. It's Jabria from Jabria Jabbers, and today we will be reviewing a book for the first time in a while. It's not that I haven't been reading, I did read, so maybe we'll be reviewing 2 books today. Yeah, why not? Because I did read a book, and it was super long, and it was like 400 some pages, and I was also like watching other things at the same time. Windy today, and I like to have my window open when I do these, so you'll just have to hear the noise. Hopefully it sounds pleasant. I turned the first book in to the library, but I do have the second one in the series. So this is the second book in the series. So it's going to be by Emily Rath, and this is going to be a quick review for this one. This book is 5 out of 5 stars. I'm gonna go ahead and give it at the beginning 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good. It's called Pucking Wild. It's amazing, like top tier. I pride myself on being a well-read, kind of queer YA books. I feel like I've read a good amount of like queer books. But this one surprised me. I've never read a queer book of this kind. Apparently this book was really popular on TikTok, which I didn't know. I saw it at Target, and then I went and ordered it from the library. The writing was so easy to read. It was such an easy read, and this was by far the spiciest book I've ever read. I've never read a book with so many sex scenes in it. So definitely for more mature audiences, and it's just great. I love that it had a happy ending. I love the cheesiness, the corniness of it. If anything that I would critique would be that sometimes the lines that the people said didn't sound like things people would actually say, but only things people would say in a book, and there's a difference. So it lacked that little bit of realism in that way, which of course the whole book was very, fictional. But I loved it. 5 out of 5. Okay, now we're gonna move on to this book. This one isn't as popular. This is a book called Panic, and it's by Lauren Oliver. If you are unfamiliar with this book, she has a series, the Delirium series, Delirium, Pandemonium, and Requiem, if you've read those. Panic. So this book, I was searching in the library for different things to read, and I was like, I like this one. Like what I'll do is I have a whole process for like which books I choose, and I liked the start of this one. I liked how it kind of plunged you right in, literally. So just to give you like a summary of this book, because I didn't do it for Pucking Wild, which was intentional because I want you to go read it for yourself and tell me what the plot is in the comments. But for this one, I'll give you kind of like a plot. So basically there's this game. Panic is a game. It's the name of a game. It's a competition for seniors that starts up after they've graduated. So the senior class of this high school in a small town, and they play this game like during the summer. And at the end of the game, you basically win $50,000 to $60,000. And they get this money from the senior class. Every day during the semester, every student in the senior class has to give $1 a day. $1 a day, every single day. And so they take all that money, and then that's the money that you have for the pot, for the win. And it's a series of different dangerous tasks, and how you sign up, so to speak, for this game, because you're not automatically signed up for the game if you're a senior, but only seniors can play. So it's kind of like the Goblet of Fire. In that way, it's like only 17 and up can participate, but you're not automatically in. And so in order to join in the game, you have to jump off of this cliff. That's basically how you do it, and that's where it starts off, and I really like that. The main character, her name is Heather, and there's another main character because this book fluctuates between the 2 different perspectives, the 2 perspectives of the different participants. Heather, who I think this is here, and Dodge, which is a male. I really like Heather. I like that she was tall and like that made her feel like she didn't fit in. I like the development of her character. Like I loved how she was like kind of like what's it called, like an ugly duckling or like the duff friend, but then throughout the book they literally like say like she transformed, like she grew into herself. So I really love that about this book, is that she had a lot of great characterization, but she also had a development of her character, like her character grew. I like that she lived in a trailer park, but it wasn't like your typical book that you read about someone who lives in a trailer park, because I've also done that. And it's like the whole thing is like just constantly emphasizing their poverty and how, like, I don't know, a lot of books that I've read like that, I haven't liked them when they talk about living in trailer parks. I like this one because this author, Lauren, she did a really good job of focusing on the theme or the main gist, the main plot of this, which was this game, Panic. Like that's what it's focused on. It's not really focused too much on their home lives, but it does show you how their home lives impact them still in terms of the game, if that makes sense. And I would say it's fairly well written as well. Like it wasn't difficult to read, although there were some chapters that I was like, oh, I'm tired of this, which leads me to Dodge. Dodge is the other main character, the other person that the perspective shifts to. Dodge is a mixed race. He is white and I think Dominican. Like his dad is from the Dominican Republic, but he still has dark skin. I kind of don't, that's the part where I feel like you can tell that this author is white here, because she didn't like ever really touch on how that aspect of him impacts him. I'm like, you have a dark skinned person whose mom is not dark skinned and it's not the same race, living in a small town of mostly white people, and like it was never brought up, like not even once. I wouldn't want the author to go into a whole bunch of detail on racism and systemic racism, institutionalized racism and all that. Obviously not. I would rather it focus on the game Panic, but they do go into details, like I said before, about the families and their family life and how it impacts them, but it never touched, not once, on the impact of race. I would have wanted something from that, because people are racist. That's a very normal thing, and I feel like it's even more normal, especially in neighborhoods that aren't super diverse, because they don't tell me anything else about anybody else with black skin in this book. I didn't hear about anybody else with dark skin or any other ethnicity or race mentioned in this book. It's giving all Caucasian, and then they don't mention how race impacted them. All right, to continue on, I really didn't like reading from Dodge's perspective that much. It was cool, like it wasn't too bad. Like, this is gonna be spoilers from here on out. I don't think anything I said before was like super spoilers, but spoilers from here on out with this book, Panic. Dodge's sister was hurt when she graduated from the high school, and basically she can't use her legs, and he knows it's because of another player that sabotaged her during the game, during the final challenge. I don't like how, like, through a lot of Dodge's chapters, he had this obsession with Natalie, which is the best friend of Heather. She was this very petite, beautiful, you know, classic stereotypical beauty queen in the town. Like, that was his thing, and then he also wanted revenge. And like, they kept like emphasizing like that his whole reason for playing the game Panic was for revenge. And in the end, I guess you could say he had character development because he didn't end up going through with it. I won't explain why. I'll leave that part, for your exploration. But I don't know. I felt like it could have been just from Heather's perspective. I feel like they didn't need Dodge. But if you did want to go with a different perspective, I would have preferred Bishop, who is someone else I'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, I feel like that's another thing. Like, I feel like the author really wanted to have oh, I'm going to use this male perspective from this black person, but you don't know, you don't know enough, obviously, in my opinion, on that experience to write adequately from that perspective. I feel like his character was very flat compared to Heather's. I would have liked, more oomph from Dodge. I wanted him, for example, he kept going on about how vengeful he was and how he would do anything, but I would have liked him to have committed something, some heinous act, and then reading the chapters of his thought process after that, and having to hide that, and then having to reveal it, to his friends or to the police or whoever, and that could have been his character development. I feel like that's way more realistic, but definitely wasn't horrible, I'll say that. So Bishop is basically the romantic interest of Heather, although she doesn't know that yet. She's really heartbroken because she just got dumped for another girl, which I also love that aspect. I found it to be really relatable to me in my life. That feeling of when will it be my turn? When will someone love me? When will someone see me? And of course, the whole time she had a best friend named Bishop. I would have really preferred it if the alternating chapters were from his perspective. I feel like it was a dead giveaway that Bishop was one of the judges or one of the game makers, so to speak, of the game Panic, because we didn't get to see his chapter. When you hear about his character, you feel and you know that he plays a huge role in the story. He's a very important character, and if anyone would be the second main character, it's obvious that it would be him. And the fact that he isn't given his own chapters from his own perspective shows you that he's hiding something that the author wants to reveal later on. So it wasn't really that big of a reveal. I feel like it would have shown more professional or more artistic, creative. It would have shown more genius writing on the author's part if she could have written from the perspective of Bishop, who had this truth and this knowledge about the games, while also making the reading of the book surprising. We have this character who is literally one of the people that's creating these different challenges for the games, and yet we still don't know what the challenges are, or we still don't know this part of the challenge. We know this part of the challenge, but we don't know this part, or still have some sort of big reveal at the end that neither of them knew. I feel like that would have pushed it further. Okay, so something that I did love about this book was the writing. I can tell that the author is familiar with symbolisms, foiling of characters. And I love how the mother of Heather and her little sister Lily was foiled with Anne, who ended up being this older woman who took them in. That was a foiling of those characters. And I really loved the symbolism of the tiger. There's a mention of a tiger in this book. There's two tigers. One of them gets shot down, but the other one survives. And I feel like that represents the two paths that Heather could have chosen. She could have taken this road down in misery, or she could take this other road where she survives, because in a small town with a lot of poverty, with a mother who has substance abuse issues, their main thing is to escape. They want to escape, and that's what would be very typical. If she wins this prize money, she escapes, and that's the end of the book. They move to California or something like that, but that's not what happens. And I love that. I feel like that was a definite bonus on the writing's part, that she ended up staying, against spoilers, she ended up staying in the same small town, but she wasn't miserable. She had found her tribe. She had found herself. She'd gotten out of her own way, which is more important, I think, than going somewhere else, because as you see with other characters who'd won previously or who'd somehow gotten out of the town before, they still had demons that haunted them and kind of like ate them from the inside out, even though they had escaped. So it'd be better, the true victory would be facing those demons, having a support system, growing in self-confidence in order to be at peace wherever you may be. So I love that. And the writing was really good. I'm gonna read this little part that I liked. So it says here, a shimmering veil of exhaust hung over the trees, intermingling with the smell of charcoal and smoke from hundreds of barbecues. It was the final explosive demonstration of summer, the line in the sand, a desperate attempt to hold fall off forever at bay. But autumn nibbled the blue sky with its teeth, tore off chunks of the sun, smudged out that heavy veil of meat-smelling smoke. It was coming. It would not be held off much longer. It would bring rain and cold and change. But before that, the final challenge, the deadliest challenge, joust. So, look at that. That's beautiful. Beautiful imagery. Very poetic descriptions. I love the descriptions of the scenery and how it's almost personified. It's alive. Like a lot of the scenery, the settings is very alive. You can feel it. You can really feel how this small town, the setting itself is a character, is a person, and how each of these different identities intermingle and interact, and how they choose to react to the hands or cards, so to speak, that are dealt from that character that is the setting, this small town. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to mention. It had a few like typical tropes, but like I said, the author did a good job of like not going too deeply into those and honing the attention back and back again on the game. Okay, so that being said, my rating out of 5, I would give this book a 2.7, not a 3, because I feel like a 3 is a book that I would like eagerly recommend to someone. But this book would be one that I would recommend to a very particular person, a very specific person who I felt like had an interest in kind of small towns, or someone who was just getting out of high school or even college, so to speak. I'd recommend this book to one of those people. So that's why not a 3. And the reason why, like, even more deductive points would be because I got bored reading Dodge's chapters and wanted to skip ahead. And also, like I said, it would have been like more of a mastermind, big flex on the author if she would have given us the other side of the game and the mechanics of it, while also leaving us on our toes. I feel like there could have been more of a thriller aspect to it. Like the ending of the chapters, they didn't, for the most part, make you want to go to the next one. I feel like she could have left more cliffhangers, more little thrills to make you be like, oh, I gotta read the next chapter because I gotta find out what happens. I gotta find out what's on the other side of this. There wasn't enough of that. At the beginning of this book, the author did say that she kind of lacked confidence for completing this book. To her editor, Rosemary Brosnan. And you can feel that in there. You can feel that the author had this really good story and even this very good plot, but she didn't have the confidence to sit with it a bit longer, to challenge herself on how she could have pushed this book into the deep end, how she could have taken that leap to take you back to the start of the book. So yeah, that's all from me. Let me know in the comments if you've read this book or if you plan to read this book, and what you think about Pucking, what's it called? It's not Pucking Wild, it's the second book. Pucking Around. What do you think about Pucking Around? Be sure to subscribe and like and comment and stuff. And bye.